Okay. It's Tuesday. It's 8:30. Welcome to the Dynasty 365 podcast, the Dynasty Football podcast for fantasyandframes.com. You can follow the mothership at Fantasy and Frames on Twitter. If you're listening in the audio version, please subscribe, rate, and review. It would really help us out. I'm Brian Ford. I'm joined by my co-host, Tyler Heil. Tyler, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good, man. I'm excited to break in my new studio. We call it a studio with air quotes because I'm just in my walk-in closet, since that's the only room I have any space because it belongs to the kids and the wife. But unfortunately, I still did not put a fan in here, so I'm probably going to start just sweating like crazy at some point.
Okay, well, maybe we'll have to get a sponsor for some kind of deodorant or anti what's that when you sweat too much? Like the like condition when you like sweat excessively.
Oh, God.
It's like a medical condition. I don't know. Anyway, maybe we can get a sponsor for that. Me, single, child free, 2 dogs, spreading out in my living room. But we have a guest tonight, Mr. Heath Cummings. Heath, how you doing?
Little known fact, I actually sweat almost every single show that I do. It's just like something I do when I'm on air. So yeah, everybody sweats. It's fine. We'll all sit here and sweat together tonight. Dynasty sweats.
Hey,
Great. I look forward to it.
All right. So Heath, the world wants to know, how's your meat?
My meat is delicious, I'm told. It was had a really wonderful Memorial Day weekend. Friday, smoked some pulled pork. Monday, smoked some ribs. Smoker's been active over the last few weeks.
All right. And you still have the Instagram and the
I've actually fired it back up lately. Put some pictures of my meat on the gram, and got a lot of likes.
They haven't been taken down yet.
No. Seems to be popular.
So how can people find you and your meat on IG?
At Heath's Meat.
Okay.
It's really simple. I didn't want anybody to miss it.
Right on. Okay. And on Twitter?
Yeah, at
Heath
Cummings SR for senior. But I don't. Occasionally, I will link to the Instagram if it's something I'm really proud of. But I generally try to not put my meat on Twitter.
Okay. Yeah, it's against the terms of service, I believe. So for those of you who are living under a rock, Heath is, of course, part of the CBS fantasy football team, Fantasy Football Today, etc. But he's a dynasty guy, right? And, I don't know, there's the occasional dynasty episode on CBS, but, tell us about like your dynasty content. Like, how did you get into it? What's the landing page about? Why do you love dynasty? Talk to us about dynasty.
Yeah, I think my first dynasty league was the Football Guys Staff Dynasty League 10, 12 years ago. I don't know how long it's been now. And I believe it was like an IDP dynasty league with my first dynasty league. And I won the first year. And so, of course, I was just hooked forever. But I've wanted to move more towards that long before that. I was always trying to move my home league. Can we have 2 keepers? Can we have 4 keepers? Hey, how about if we just keep these keepers forever? I was always trying to move guys towards that. And that's kind of what I've done at CBS. When I started there 7 years ago, we might have a rookie only mock draft, maybe a dynasty mock draft in the off season, but there were no dynasty rankings or anything like that. Now we have a dynasty landing page on the right-hand side of the fantasy football page. We call it Dynasty Central, and there are rankings, tiers, a half dozen mock drafts from the last couple of months. Mailbags, we try to do at least 2 a month. So we're really trying to expand. We've got a trade chart now, trying to expand in that space. And listen, I think for me, it's the best way to play fantasy football. It's like, who wants to have to pick a new team each year? Let's build a dynasty.
Yeah, I have a shorter lived, dynasty career than you do. It was only like 3 or 4 years, but like pretty much I got the bug pretty quickly, and I'm down to like a home league redraft and Scott Fishbowl last couple like that. I'm really not doing much redraft at all. Yeah.
Yeah, I still have to do way too many redraft leagues.
Sure. Yeah.
Get to do way too.
Well, exactly. People want you in their leagues. They don't want me in their league.
But like, and I've kind of gotten to the point now where I just added a new Dynasty League today, actually. It's one of John Bosch's crazy creations. I think it's called Fog of War, and I still don't really know what the rules are, but that's the way it is with most John Bosch leagues. I told him, I said, I will join the league if you promise not to penalize or mock me every time I ask you a question about what the rules are. He said, no. He said, this one's so complicated, I have to look at the rules sometimes. But most of his dynasty leagues now are at least best ball leagues, which I prefer just because of the number of leagues that I have.
Yeah.
Not having to set a lineup every week. And I think in that format's also better in like best ball head to head, I should say. The total points thing I don't like as much, but I think for Dynasty League specifically, the best ball head to head is the best format for me, because you sometimes in a Dynasty League, like when you've really built a great team, you might have some depth that makes setting a lineup absolutely miserable. I don't think you should be penalized for having 4 great running backs or 6 great wide receivers. Start the best ones.
You might have convinced me to do more best ball just then.
but again, I do strongly prefer when we still have the matchups and all the other regular parts of fantasy football. Just don't make me choose who to start, please.
I got you. Tyler, you do some best ball, right?
I do. I don't do a lot of it. It's more redraft best ball. I have not quite got into a dynasty best ball yet, but I'm definitely looking to diversify the portfolio. Like Brian, I have only been doing dynasty for about 4 years. I started in redraft when we were drafting basically on paper when I was in high school. So that was really fun. But yeah, I've certainly enjoyed the best ball format.
All right. Well, if you look at the calendar, folks, it is June 7th, and you're probably winding down your rookie drafts. The first real training camp at the Ravens starts on July 11th, but most start about 10 days after that. Do you know where you are? You're in the 5th dimension. Beyond that, which is known to humans, is a dimension as vast as space and as timeless as infinity. It is the middle ground between light and shadow, between rookie drafts and training camps, and it lies between the pit of UDFAs and the summit of players and pads. This is the dimension of imagination. It is an area we call the Dead Zone. So, as far as we're concerned, Dynasty 365, it's never a dead zone, but it's that time period in the year where you can maybe get an edge when some people are paying less attention. So, start us off, Heath. What are some tips for Dynasty managers in the quote unquote dead zone? What should we be doing when others might be paying a little less attention to get an edge moving toward the end of the offseason?
I mean, I think it really depends on what your structure is in terms of waivers during the off season. Because if you have waiver options during this time of year, then it's a good time of year to just kind of churn the bottom of your roster and search for some of those diamonds in the rough that might help you during the regular season. But even if you don't, like, this is one of my favorite times of the year to make trades, because I've got enough time. Like, even as somebody that doesn't do this for a living, I've got enough time. I go look at my team. I don't have to set lineups or set waiver priorities or anything like that. I can just go in there and kind of decide some guys that I'd like to shop, and then actually try to shop them to every team that I think it might make sense. I like to go out and I'll make 7 or 8 offers with one player, telling each team, listen, I'm offering this guy to a bunch of teams. First one that accepts gets the deal. I think it's almost easier to get trades done this time of year because you can do that. I can't very well do that in season, time constraint wise. But no, this time of year, I like to really shop guys and shop for guys.
Right. And what I've noticed with some trades I'm trying to work lately is there's some people who are reluctant to do it until we get closer to preseason, till like position battles and depth charts kind of, work their way out. And, like, for example, Kyron Williams just broke a foot, right? So, he's not going to be ready for the start of the year. Not that he's a huge trade target, but it's an example of, we just had an injury and now you might have drafted him a couple weeks ago or thrown him in a trade, and now, right? So yeah, but Tyler, you like to churn the bottom of the roster too. What do you like to do in the dead zone?
Absolutely. You know, churning the bottom of the roster is extremely important. You know, I always like to compare it to real NFL teams. They're constantly looking at guys that are getting cut by other teams, or they can trade for 7th round picks. You know, just look for guys that could help you. Like he said, you know, you're not going to find a RB1 off of waivers. It's almost never going to happen. But you can find guys like Auden Tate, find guys like Brian Edwards, find guys like Darrell Williams off of waivers. I've seen all of them picked up in the past few weeks. But to add to what Heath was saying about trades, one thing I've seen happening in a few of my leagues that has really driven trade traffic is Sleeper has the fun little thing where you can change a player's nickname, where at times it's very unbearable because people will, you know, they'll use stupid nicknames, but I digress on that. Anyway, they will change, like Sterling Shepard, for instance, change his nickname to auto accept any third, or David Njoku, auto accept any second. And when you just put that out there to the league and basically announce it, kind of like Heath was saying, like, hey, I'm offering to this guy to a lot of people, it's really going to drive traffic. If you don't feel strongly about someone, get a pick for him. Try to capitalize on someone like David Njoku just signing a contract.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I actually don't do that feature on Sleeper. I think it hurts the seller. Why would I advertise my price? I think it works for guys that are just like, okay, throw me a third, throw me a fourth. But like, other than that, like I play my cards close to the vest, but maybe that's just me.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different ways to do it. I think it depends. It definitely depends on the quality of the player. But man, in some leagues, it's really hard to get trades done if you're not just like almost a salesperson trying to actively pursue trades. And then in other leagues, I'm constantly getting inundated with offers, and they maybe think I'm the guy. So it is really specific to your league.
It's funny how that works, how each league has like a vibe like that. As far as another thing in the dead zone, let's talk about news, right? So I like to follow at 32 beat writers on Twitter. It just gives me a direct line to the people who know the team and etc. But sifting through that and what is actionable and what's valid, and now that's a different story. So as far as news and buzz goes, let's start with Heath. What do we look for? What do we disregard?
I get pretty concerned by anything negative, because like there's so much stuff about guys that are in the best shape of their life, or coaches saying positive things, or teammates saying positive things. Like everybody's doing that. That's what you're supposed to do this time of year. Yeah. But when something negative comes out specifically from like somebody who's actually close to the team, that gets me a little bit worried. And that's something that I'm probably going to pay more attention to than I am the fluff pieces.
Okay. All right. Tyler, you don't like head coaches. You say position coaches, right?
I do. These head coaches, they're managing a staff of 20 plus coaches. They're managing a roster of not just the 53 player active roster. I think rosters are going to be at 90 to 95 players here coming up soon. They simply cannot cover enough bases. These position coaches are the guys who's spending time with all these players, and like he said, the fluff pieces are a little much, but if position coaches are really touting someone and saying, hey, they're playing great, they're first ones in the building, all this, it doesn't mean they're going to be an RB1, but I'll pay attention to a position coach talking them up way more than I will a head coach.
And then also make sure you listen to see who's having breakfast with who, because that seems to be really important. Yes. Or rooming with who are the rookie wide receivers rooming with. That's really, really a key as well.
Speaking of breakfast, you made a reference to that on a recent Heath's Bold Predictions episode on CBS. So I'm using that as a segue to ask you about holdouts, contracts, player drama. Like, for example, Terry McLaurin, right? You're a dynasty manager. What are you doing with that situation? Because it's in one way short term, but another way it's hop on Jahan Dotson. So I don't know what's up.
Yeah, I worry about it more when there's change than when there's continuity. New quarterback, new coaching staff, new team for the play, like anything like that, where I think like they might actually need some of this time. There's a reason they give new head coaches extra practice time in the offseason. I do worry about it when it's a new situation, or in the case of Terry McLaurin, he's got a new quarterback and he has new competition at wide receiver. Now, it probably won't mean anything, but I worry about it more with him than I would maybe with somebody like Deebo Samuel.
Okay. I dig that. Yeah, I could see that.
Deebo Samuel has a new quarterback as well.
He does, but they were on the team together last year. They already know each other. I don't know.
Kyle Shanahan doesn't like giving anyone reps except his starters, just, because.
Yeah, that's true. And who knows? Kyle Shanahan might get mad at Deebo for not coming and just decide he's not going to play the first 4 games of the season. Might Brandon Ayuk him.
Yeah. Shanahan does not.
I would like to think that Shanahan has like a level of doghousery that can't touch like an all-pro level player, but I don't believe that in my heart of hearts.
People like to say the NFL doesn't care about your fantasy team. Kyle Shanahan really doesn't care about your fantasy team.
I almost think he does.
Dislikes your fantasy team.
He cares in a negative way.
Is there anything that rebuilders or contenders specifically should be doing this time of year when it comes to the dead zone?
For rebuilders, I think it's like really dependent on where you're at in the rebuild. Like if you're a team that's kind of sold everything off for picks and you have extra roster spots, this is the time of year that I like to speculate on backup running backs, because backup running backs can turn into or be throw-ins as parts of deal that get you 2023 picks or 2024 picks if they turn into starters mid-year and somebody needs a starting running back for a month. So I like, if I'm going to fill my roster with just kind of some extras as I'm trying to tank my way through a season, I'd like to have as many potential starting running backs as possible.
Right. I got you. So I'm looking at this and I have jotted down here for rebuilds, and, maybe I'm wrong. But it's a good, well, I guess it's a good time of year for anybody to do this, but to capitalize on news, buzz, the stuff that like quad photos and workout videos and, that sort of thing that people in your league, if you're not playing with folks you've known for a long time, may actually like care about. Right. And now all of a sudden, or a doghouse one, right? And now all of a sudden your guy who's the handcuff for that person's running back, now all of a sudden their value goes up. So really, I think, kick tires and shop guys when there's like a little bit of news that could, move the needle on value, and grab like maybe it's a second instead of a third now, or it's a third plus a future now instead of just a third. So I like to kind of, see how people are overreacting sometimes to that stuff. Yeah.
Right.
Yes, and in the same vein as Heath was saying with hoarding backup running backs, when you're in a super flex format, you can hoard backup quarterbacks as well. Grab those guys that the starters either have questions, or even if they don't have questions, just grab a backup quarterback. Like last year when Mitchell. I don't want to anger his mother. When Mitchell Trubisky was the backup to Josh Allen. Josh Allen wasn't likely to get injured, and he didn't. But, oh boy, if he was manning that Buffalo Bills offense, he would have been a nice little trade piece for you. And to add on to that, know the rules of your league. That's it. I mean, that's for everyone, competitors to rebuilders alike. Know the rules of your league. Hopefully your dynasty league has a taxi squad, because those are very important. Know the length a player can stay on the taxi squad. Do they have to come off after their rookie year? Do they have to come off after 1 year, 2 years? Don't just, if you draft if you have high draft picks and you draft Breece Hall and Kenneth Walker in your rookie draft, don't just put them in your starting lineup because you want it to look good. Throw them on your taxi squad and grab some veteran free agents that could end up netting you a 4th round pick, a 5th round pick, a 3rd round pick, or even a couple starts throughout the year.
I want to just plus one on the whole backup quarterbacks thing, right? And it's not even so much like I would even go trade for, I don't know, McCoy, for example, knowing that Kyler might have a more likelihood of getting hurt. So then when that happens, now I can sell for more than I bought for, right? And so I think so. What kind of is backups to quarterbacks who have that playing style like Lamar and Kyler more of a priority to target in that situation?
Yeah, I think and I would expect Tyler Huntley will be one of the most targeted, just because we saw it happen last year, and especially with the talk about like, are Dobbins and Edwards going to be ready at the start of the year? Does that mean more Lamar running and more injury risk? So I do think like those types of guys that put themselves in harm's way more often, and then also the quarterbacks that just maybe aren't very good.
All right. Yeah, no, that's for sure, right? It's people who are going to get that opportunity, and then you capitalize on it. So I'm looking at our social media comments here. We've got a friend of the show, Gator J, and he wants to know: are you doing Scott Fishbowl this year?
Of course, yes. Scott Fishbowl and Fantasy Cares has become it's my favorite part of the fantasy community. I did 8 Fantasy Cares eliminators that John Bosch runs to raise money for the Fantasy Cares. I believe I have 2 of those drafts still ongoing. Those are the 18-man eliminator contests that, good grief, 18-man, 16 round, I think. And this year he took away volume. You lose points for rush attempts, targets, pass attempts, basically everything that like we generally think about with fantasy football. Now it's all about volume. So that's driven me crazy. But yes, I will be in Scott Fishbowl, and I will hopefully be doing some Christmas shopping for Fantasy Cares in December.
Right on. And Tyler, our IDP guru, Nate Markham, has a hard-hitting question for Heath.
I think the last time you were on the show, Heath, Nate gave you a recipe for coffee rub, and we were talking about all that juicy meat. Have you had a chance to use it?
I have not put the coffee rub on my meat. I appreciate the reminder about the coffee rub, though, because I do want to try it. But no, that just completely escaped my mind, and so I'm making a note. But the next time I'm on, I am absolutely going to say yes.
Okay.
I did try it.
All right. We look forward to hearing about rubbing your meat. Gator J has another hard-hitting question about food and beverage.
I am actually just sipping on a bubbly coconut pineapple bubbly. It's not beer. I wish it was beer, but it's got a little carbonation. So when I don't want to drink beer, I drink this and fool myself. But I'm just having water tonight, being responsible.
Another chance for a sponsor there. I am on my coffee and lime seltzer as per usual. Tyler in the walk-in closet, is it also now a speakeasy?
It is not yet. It will be at some point, but it's just water tonight, man. I'm heading to South Carolina for vacation on Friday. I'm gonna be doing plenty of beer drinking there, so I'm gonna hydrate.
Okay. And so, Gator, we are very sorry to.
That's really embarrassing, and I vow to do better on that as well next time. Let everybody down.
We appreciate it. Because I can't. I quit drinking, so like it's you all have to pull your weight. Any other dead zone tidbits anybody wants to throw out there?
Yeah, I'll throw one out there. We're talking about shopping players, and don't forget, if you are competing, you can buy guys. You can go out and get guys that might have a driven down price tag. The big one to me this year is 32-year-old Travis Kelce. If a team that does not fancy themselves a contender has Travis Kelce on their roster, I'm assuming they are doing whatever they can to try to sell him. I've seen a lot of people try to get first for him. I've seen no one succeed. I've seen Travis Kelce go for a second and a third. And at that price, if you're competing, I would be crow hopping those picks at that Travis Kelce manager.
Okay.
100%. This is a better time of year to be a buyer than it is a seller.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the veterans aren't scoring points, so they're not really on people's, radar as much, right? So I would also add that, and I think we spoke about this already, but I just want to +1 getting depth. I mean, we're not talking about the whole, situation where now it makes a nightmare scenario for you for setting lineups, but I mean like depth, not like another good player that, so get backups for your guys, throw thirds at, handcuff running backs, and see what you can do to insulate yourself from crisis. COVID's still lingering. We don't know how that's going to play out. Obviously, injuries all the time. Someone gets doghouse, whatever it is, right? You want to inoculate yourself from that as much as possible. I think if you're a contender, and that's the time to try to go get some depth, right?
And Brian, to jump on, this is something that we've talked about before, how you mentioned go get a third round pick. A lot of people will kind of say, if you're looking at a trade, take those third and fourth rounders, slide them off, don't even count them as capital. Looking at all the rookie drafts that I've been through this year, I don't dislike a lot of these third round picks. I like some of the value there. They might not necessarily be stars, but I would rather have these third round picks than some of the veterans that you can get for them. I think you're in agreement with me there, Brian. I've heard you say it before. Where are you at on that, Heath?
Yeah, I probably feel different about thirds than fourths, but definitely with thirds, like I would rather have the player. Fourth, it's got to probably be like a super flex and a tight end premium before I get too excited about those. But especially this year. But I think there's a chance that 2023 class, we might want to be stockpiling those third and fourths.
Yeah. I've always been team thirds matter. People are like, thirds are no, they matter, right? And especially in a class like 2023, as you're saying, and you can get, some value. I mean, I was grabbing Ramondre Stevenson in thirds and fourths, last year, and it paid off okay,
Well, and I think also IDP too. Like, I'm not sure people pay enough attention to how much format changes the depth of rookie drafts, specifically with super flex, tight end premium, and with IDP. So those later picks really increase in value in those formats.
Well, IDP, you're speaking Jorge and Nate's language there, that's for sure. Yeah. We have our own IDP podcast now on the Fantasy and Frames Network, and that is Shoot the Gap, which is Thursday nights at 8.
Yes. I jumped on there last week. That was a lot of fun. I was trying to I was rattling Nate's cage a little bit about his top 15 IDP rankings, asking him what he was thinking, putting Aiden Hutchinson in there. So yeah, I was having fun.
Okay. All right. Nice. So bereft of IDP, but still on the best ball train that we've been talking about tonight, is a friend of ours, Tyler, Underdog.
Yes. If you enjoy best ball and the best ball format, this is we're talking redraft here, not dynasty, but Underdog Fantasy is probably the best app out there by far for best ball redraft leagues. We're partnering with Underdog, two brands that we have one common goal, and the most important thing is making fantasy fun for everyone. So if you have not yet been smart enough to download the Underdog Fantasy app and get on there, go download it, sign up, use the promo code FRAMES, FRAMES, and you can receive 100% match up to $100 when there's a minimum $10 deposit by Underdog. You throw $100 in there, you have 200. That's going to take you the whole season. It's going to get you in some huge tournaments with big cash prizes. You can set up your own best ball league, and it's not just for NFL. It's for any major sport, NFL, MLB, NBA, NHL, all of that. If you're looking for more of a challenge and not just setting up your own league, you can jump in. As I said, you can make a little money. They have leagues with entry fees ranging from $3 to $100. And these leagues are three-person leagues, 6-person leagues, 12-person leagues. You can get as deep or as shallow as you want to into this player pool, and it is a lot of fun. You can play pick 'em prop games and just enjoy the feeling of being right and earning some cash on the side. So go download the Underdog Fantasy app, use the promo code FRAMES, FRAMES, and most importantly, have fun, because I know I will sign up for a best ball draft later tonight and just throw $3 in there, and maybe I'll end up with 15 at the end of the season.
Okay, right on. And we love our friends at Underdog for sure. So Heath, time to play some games.
Oh,
You
good.
ready?
Yeah,
Yes.
love games.
All right. So we're gonna play word association. So here's how it works. Tyler and I each have items to present to you. Could be a player, a phrase, a word, a team, whatever it is. And in 3 words or less, say what comes to your mind. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Tyler, you kick us off.
All right. I'm going to start with New England Patriots running backs.
Do not want.
Okay. So
Man,
you're
that's
completely
impressive.
out.
I mean, there's a Damian Harris is I was doing the 3 words or less thing, but Damian Harris is a fine flexish type player that if everything goes absolutely right, might be a number 2 running back. But I hate the situation and I don't want to invest in it. Maybe when Bill leaves.
Okay. Yeah, no, I gotcha. And me being sort of a Stevenson truther, I'm a little depressed now, for sure. All right.
Well, Stevenson's probably value relative to how everyone views him than Harris.
Very, very true. Yeah, very true. Do you think Pierre Strong gets any run? I mean, I was fading him when people were loving him going into draft season. So where do you stand on him?
I'm not interested. I think that I can probably buy at a discount next offseason.
Very true. All right. Okay, so you said Patriots running back. So I'm going to say Dynasty wide receiver 1.
Keep flip-flopping. I had it as Chase for most of the offseason, and then I get to a certain point after the NFL draft where I weigh my 2022 expectations a little more heavily because it feels like they're a little more real than it is in January or February and March. And I just got to the point where I've got a pretty big target gap this year between Jefferson and Chase. And they're both like monsters in terms of efficiency. I don't know. Like maybe Chase will be slightly better over the course of his career, but I don't feel strongly about it. And so I just if I've got a 20 point difference between the two of them this year, it became more difficult for me to leave Chase in front of Jefferson. So I've gone back and forth on the two of those quite a bit for number 1.
Okay. Man, I've been J-Chef pretty steadily myself. Tyler, where do you stand on that?
It's so close that at this point, I'm just going with the player that I enjoy watching more, and that's Justin Jefferson.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Fair.
Plug that into the formula. I like to watch him play, see where that moves the delta or whatever. Right.
It's
all right,
more
Tyler,
fun to watch.
Yeah, you're up next with word association.
All right, I'm gonna go with Dawson Knox.
Obvious touchdown regression.
Okay. I dig it.
Yeah, I didn't love Knox before the OJ Howard signing. I'm still an OJ Howard truther, so that knocked him down a little bit as well. But I just think you look at what his season was last year, and he was like almost exactly Hunter Henry, right? And nobody is excited about Hunter Henry in redraft this year.
It's true.
And if we don't think Dawson Knox is going to be good in redraft this year, I don't know that he's still young enough to think not this year, but in the future, one day he's going to be good. So I'm not real excited about Knox.
Okay.
Isn't Knox like 25?
Yeah, I think he is. I mean, he's young, but
yeah,
he's been in the league. Was this year 4 or just year 3?
I think it's year 4. He's going into year 4.
Yeah. Maybe. And I mean, listen, maybe OJ Howard doesn't matter at all, and maybe his target volume just explodes.
Mm-hmm. But there's also now Crowder and Gabe Davis, and if Khalil Shakir is anything, right? I mean,
I think Isaiah McKenzie's going to get more targets than people think.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, he filled in well in the slot when Beasley was out, and now Beasley's gone. So,
and it seems pretty obvious after the whole J.D. McKissick debacle and then drafting James Cook that they would like to throw to their running backs more than they have in the past.
True. Okay, so you went with a player for word association, Tyler. I'm going to do one too, and that is Mr. Saquon Barkley. 3 words or less.
I'm warming up.
Okay. I think that's music to Tyler's ears. Tell us about that.
Yes. I just look at him in comparison to every running back besides Jonathan Taylor has question marks, and Barkley certainly has question marks about his health. I think Dalvin Cook has plenty of question marks about his health. So does Christian McCaffrey. But I'm kind of open to the idea that his inefficiency last year was a result of the fact that he just wasn't necessarily all the way back. As long as he's been in the league, he's still relatively young. I think he might be a borderline top 12 running back. And if they actually throw it to him as much as they're talking about throwing to him, he might sneak into the top 12.
Okay. All right. Tyler?
Yeah. I am much higher on Saquon Barkley than anyone has any business being. So that's good to hear at least.
Well, and in comparison to the other backs that we have the injury and the age concerns about, he's a couple years younger than like Dalvin Cook and Alvin Kamara and those guys. So I don't know that he should really be in much different of a spot. I've got him 15th in Dynasty at running back right now, and I might be a little low.
Mm-hmm. I was around there a little while ago, and with knocking down a couple other folks, he's risen. I think he's made it into my top 12 now.
Yeah.
All right, Tyler. Word association.
All right. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to do 3 words or less with this.
With last names, maybe. With last names and the word "end," maybe it'll work.
Okay. All right. Underrated stack.
Lions.
There we go. Who?
Well, first off, Jared Goff, because he's almost free.
Yeah.
And I think there's real value in Goff in that he's not going to lose his job.
Mm-hmm.
Like all the quarterbacks that are of his range, there's an actual chance that either the rookie might take the job or they might just be so bad that someone else. I don't think there's Jared Goff's going anywhere this year. And they've put a great set of weapons around him. If Jameson Williams can get there at some point in the first half of the season, they're talking about using Hawkinson in ways that he hasn't been used before. There was a quote from him today about how he's running routes that he's never run before.
Just saw that.
Based on ADP, I'd probably be more interested in like a Goff, Hawkinson, Chark type stack or a Goff, Hawkinson, Jameson Williams stack. I'm not really sold on Amon-Ra St. Brown justifying his ADP.
Me neither. Yeah. I think I still look at it as not just like the type of prospect he was, but now it's the mouths to feed. And he did most of his damage with like no Swift or like barely Swift and no
Hawkinson.
Right.
So you got to show me.
Right. And definitely no Jameson Williams and no DJ Chark.
Yeah. All right.
They didn't even have that guy from Wisconsin who Quintez Cephas. He was out all year.
He was. Yes. I mean, no knock on Josh Reynolds. I've long been a Josh Reynolds truther, but.
All right. So in the spirit of underrated stack, I'm going to go with sneaky buy.
Josh Jacobs.
Okay. Tell us
Seems
about
like he's received more negative, but I mean, that's every year. Is Josh Jacobs receives more negative buzz and then finishes as a high-end number 2 running back. I've got Jacobs right in the Barkley range. He's a year younger. I think there's a chance. Like, I expect they're going to try to use somebody else in the passing game. I'm not sure they have anybody right now that's going to be any good in that role opposite Jacobs. Kenyon Drake's had like 1 year, maybe 1.5 years as an above average pass catcher. I just think that, and Brandon Bolden's a part-time player. So I think people may be underselling how much work he's going to lose in the passing game. And the Patriots have a long history that with under McDaniels, obviously, of a lot of running back touchdowns. I don't think anybody's taking those from him.
And Heath showing a lot of disrespect to one Amir Abdullah.
Yes.
From a dynasty perspective, does him not getting that 5th-year option picked up concern you and make you say, okay, Zamir White looks good?
I think that makes him more attractive as a buy.
Sure.
It doesn't bother me as much. Now, there's a possibility he could get hurt. But other than that, I have a really hard time believing, even if he's not on the Raiders next year, that he won't be a starting running back somewhere next year. And the Raiders situation is not such a great one that I think it's automatically going to be a downgrade if he goes somewhere else.
I dig it. Tyler, anything else for Ward Associates? Oh, I'm sorry. Please go ahead.
That's right.
You love Zamir White. This is your time to shine.
Yeah.
I'm not that high on Zamir White. My question is more with Josh Jacobs' situation. I guess I just have trouble finding, like, if I'm looking at just the list of NFL teams, I have trouble pegging one where, okay, if the Raiders aren't re-signing him, where is he going to go and get a lot of volume?
I mean, maybe the Giants
trade out Saquon for Jacobs.
I don't know how much money Saquon's going to want next year, but they're both going to be. I mean, neither one of them's under contract for next year, right?
It's true.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I don't like. We'll see what Saquon puts together. I'm trying to think of it. I could give another one though. That can't be the only one.
Atlanta. Maybe Tyler Algier isn't.
Atlanta's a good call. Yeah.
I do like that. I don't know if Algier is a long-term guy. I like him a lot, but he's more of a 1 to 2 year guy.
I mean, maybe Tampa.
Yeah, with Fat Lenny.
I don't expect Lenny to be on that team next year. Not because of the picture, although the picture is gonna be fun and it's great that we get to talk about it. And like I remember there was a lot of, well, no, look at this angle of Eddie Lacy. He's not actually fat. But we'll find out when it comes time for training camp. Listen, he's got plenty of time to lose weight, but I don't know. Like, I don't think his contract was such that we expect him necessarily to be on Tampa next year.
I got you. Yeah, no, I agree. That's a good spot.
Or Philly.
Yeah, Miles Sanders not under contract next year.
Right. And it does not seem like Nick Sirianni is a huge fan of Miles Sanders.
No, I don't understand that one. And because I really like Miles Sanders as a player. I think he's a hell of a running back. I think he's a really good pass catcher. I think he can make people miss in the open field. And Nick Sirianni just, I don't know if he tried to make a move on his daughter or what happened, but he's not a fan of Miles Sanders.
I wonder if and I don't know this for sure. But I feel like Sanders has got a little bit of that Saquon. You might average 4 yards a carry, but a lot of your carries are going for negative yardage, and then you got the 70-yard run, and so it's all good. And sometimes there are certain coaches that would like for you to just hit the hole and please get me 5 yards, like the play is supposed to give me 5 yards.
Yes.
I don't know for sure if that's it, but I think that could be.
Okay. So one more game, and it's called Dead Zone Diaries. Okay. I'm going to give you a player name, and you have to give me a sentence or two on their Dead Zone diary. So, for example, if I said Russell Wilson, you'd say, "Dear Diary, I'm finally away from the gum chewer, and I have a offense I like with Javonte," like something like that, right? Okay.
Or
So-
can you believe Jerry Jeudy already got hurt again?
That's true too. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. All
That's
right.
depressing.
Okay. You ready?
Yes.
Okay. What is your dead zone Dear Diary for Elijah Mitchell?
Dear Diary, I'm not sure Kyle likes me. He wasn't very nice in practice the other day, and they just drafted another running back. I hope I can hold on to this job.
Love it. So I called TDP one of the biggest reaches in the NFL draft, but given the fact that we talked about the Shanahanigans, that's how you say it, earlier, it means more when he lands there as a reach than other places.
Yeah, because it doesn't matter if he's right. It just matters if he thinks he's right. Whether that was a good draft pick or not, it doesn't really matter at all for Mitchell. But I mostly think if Elijah Mitchell does what Kyle Shanahan says and doesn't get hurt, that TDP won't matter. I don't think he's taking that job. It's just another risk factor, another guy who Shanahan could look at in practice and say, oh, he's doing all the things I want today. That's my starting running back.
Right. And so looking at it from, say, a dynasty perspective, right? TDP, because of perceived value, maybe try to sell him. Elijah Mitchell, because of the manager might be shaky. You know, that's a target for a running back, especially a TDP, et cetera, right? So it's these types of things that you have to like think about,
Right.
And make those chess moves. All right, ready for another Dear Diary?
Yes, I'm excited about this.
Okay. I swear I had this written down before I listened to Heath's Bold Predictions episode on the CBS Fantasy Football Today podcast.
Excellent.
All right. What is your dead zone Dear Diary for Jalen Hurts?
Dear Diary, it is so weird. Every time I look at AJ Brown, he's open. I have never seen this before. He's like 4 yards away from the next closest corner. I'm going to throw it to him every time.
Love it. Tyler, what do you think?
Oh, I love it. I'm so happy they got him a real wide receiver. Devontae Smith's fine, but AJ Brown is a star. Whenever I think of AJ Brown, it just makes me think of, oh yeah, Treylon Burks is as good as AJ Brown, guys. What are we doing here?
Yeah. I remember draft night. You were hot about that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just hope that Hurts and Brown and Smith can stay healthy.
Yeah.
Because if they do, I think Hurts is really like. First off, Brown might be wide receiver one because we haven't seen a season of 16 or 17 games where he's fully healthy. Even when he's played, he's often been banged up. But also, like, I really think there are a lot of people who have doubted Jalen Hurts in a way that I don't think is totally fair. I think he's just like when he's been bad and inaccurate, it's been because he's a young quarterback who needs more time. And I think he could be really, really good. And Brown could be the guy that causes him to make that probably not a Josh Allen leap, but maybe a Kyler Murray leap.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I got you on that. For those of you who don't know, Heath's fun, bold prediction was Jalen Hurts 2022 QB1. So listen to that episode. It's got some great stuff in there, some good nuggets. I've gone back and forth on Hurts so much, good arguments for and against. And at times he looked a little more competent and confident as a passer. And then I'm like, so what would you say to the argument then? And I guess we've already heard it because he's young, but AJ Brown can be open all he wants. It's Jalen Hurts throwing him the ball, right?
I would say that statistically, Jalen Hurts' first 2 years as a passer don't look any worse than Kyler Murray's or Josh Allen's. And yeah, there's things on film, and it kind of had like Lamar Jackson had this as well early in his career. When he missed, it was just god awful. And those types of misses, I think, and in particular, it happens more with running quarterbacks. Those types of guys, they make a bad throw, and people are more likely to believe he can't throw. This guy made a lot of great throws in college, a lot of bombs deep. He can't maybe make every throw, or maybe he couldn't last year. I'm not sure. Apparently, he's made some improvements in the offseason. That's what Nick Sirianni says. I kind of think his struggles as a passer have been a little bit exaggerated, and almost all rookie quarterbacks and often second-year quarterbacks are bad.
Very true.
I feel like Jalen Hurts has just gotten some unnecessary hate. I don't know if it's because he transferred away from Alabama and people still want to bring that up, or if just because he wasn't a first-round pick. It feels like people don't want Jalen Hurts to succeed. And my only real question about him as a dynasty asset is long-term potential, because I know he's going to start this year and he's going to be a top 10 quarterback this year. If he's on the field, he's going to be.
The thing that I love is I think they've really made the team better. And again, this is another Nick Sirianni thing. I'm not 100% sure that Sirianni thinks Hurts is his long-term answer. I think he probably doesn't know yet.
Yeah.
But if they go out and win 11 games this year, taking a quarterback in the draft next year is pretty much going to be off the table.
The few Philly fans I can tolerate speaking to believe that the 23 draft, they're drafting a quarterback pretty much no matter what. So, we'll see. Yeah.
I think if they miss the playoffs, that's probably true. It's going to be difficult, especially in the NFC with the roster they've put together, for them to miss the playoffs, I think.
Okay. We have another burning question from CEO of Fantasy and Frames, Jorge Edwards.
Yeah. You see my new backdrop. I normally have the Mahomes Magic Crunch.
Oh, okay.
But those are the new Jason Tatum flaming hot barbecue Ruffles potato chips.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, I mean, unless it's Celtics in 5. It's either Celtics in 5 or Celtics in 6. I'm not sure.
And they're playing the Warriors, correct?
They are playing the Warriors, yes. The series is tied at 1 apiece.
Okay. All right. Okay, before we depart, one more Dear Diary. Okay. Do you want wide receiver who I found hard to rank, loads of talent but lost a quarterback, or much maligned running back to the point now where he might be a value?
I've got this sneaky suspicion I might know who the wide receiver is, so let's go with him.
Okay. What is your Dead Zone Dynasty Dear Diary, because alliteration is awesome, for DK Metcalf?
Ooh. Dear Diary, they're offering me a lot of money, but man, it rains a lot here, and Drew Lock's my quarterback, or is it Geno Smith? I'm not sure it's worth it.
It's Baker Mayfield.
If it's Baker Mayfield, I think he takes the money.
Yeah. Probably.
But, man, with the off, and I should have mentioned the coach too, but like with the offensive philosophy there and the current quarterback situation and the fact that they're just terrible, man, I don't, if I was DK, I'd probably be trying to do what all the other wide receivers did this offseason, find a new team.
Right on. So I'm get the impression that that's not who you thought the wide receiver was.
No.
Who'd you think it was?
Deontay Johnson.
Okay. A similar story as well. What's your take on him?
Well, I was going to be far less kind to Deontay Johnson because I don't think talent-wise that they are really that comparable. And I was going to say, I'm afraid they took Ben away. Nobody else is going to throw it to me 160 times.
Okay. All right. Good nugget. I'm probably higher on him than most other people, so I have to take that into consideration for sure.
Again, I think that like the point in his favor is they took Ben away. Maybe somebody can throw it to me further than 5 yards down the field. We'll find out which of those things is more accurate. Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of speculation too about him and his contract and his future as well. Real quick, the much maligned running back who may now be a value, it was CEH.
Ooh, yeah, and he is. I think I might be the high guy on him now. I was the low guy on him for most of the past 2 years, but I am very hopeful that the addition of Ronald Jones means that they might actually use CEH in the role that he was designed to be used in. Like Andy Reid's a genius and one of the greatest coaches ever, and there's nothing I know that he doesn't know. But I don't know why they've been using him on early downs and not on passing downs. And I hope that now they're going to run Jones between the tackles and get CEH outside.
Love it. I was optimistic on him, then I've soured on him, then I was optimistic, back and forth, and you're giving me life here because I have a few shares. So
good.
Yeah. All right. Well, Heath, thank you so much for coming on and spending some time with us and talking Dynasty. Really appreciate it, and we'd love to have you back in the future. Real quick, anything you want to plug? The Meet, CBS, your Twitter?
Yeah, I mean, the most important thing to me right this time of year is definitely the Dynasty landing page. And I'll be updating all my rankings, including rookie-only rankings next week. So just go to the fantasy football site on CBS and top right corner, click Dynasty Central, and you'll find all my Dynasty content.
Right on. Love it. Tyler, plugs.
Yes, absolutely. I just finished a J.K. Dobbins Dynasty Target article. I'm very excited about that one. I'm very excited for J.K. Dobbins coming up. You can follow me on Twitter at FF Tyler Heil. That's HEIL.
All right. You can find me on Twitter at FFJunkie_. I will also be participating in the Dynasty Targets Fun. Fewer in the can, including my irrational love for Brevin Jordan.
I'm with you.
Now I feel
Yes,
smart.
I'm with you.
All right. And that whole series is awesome. We're going to have some IDP parts of it too coming out. So Dynasty Targets throughout for you who are hungry during the Dead Zone. The mothership is, of course, Fantasy in Frames. Follow them at Fantasy in Frames on Twitter. You can follow this podcast at Dynasty 365 Pod on Twitter. On Thursday nights at 8 p.m., you can stream Shoot the Gap, our IDP podcast, at Shoot the Gap Pod. And Fourth and Frames, your fun, flagship podcast is coming back on Wednesday soon, towards the end of the off season, as well as the re-debut of our DFS podcast, Daily Fix, which was there for you Super Bowl night and will now be there with you for the 2022 football season and beyond. And if you're listening to audio, please subscribe, rate, review. It does a lot for us. For Heath, for Tyler, I'm Brian Ford. That's a wrap. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
I can do this all day.
Yeah, I know.